Well, the Chinese Communist Party government has been raising eyebrows recently over China's Xinjiang region, but this time not for the Uyghur concentration camps. Mock-ups of American warships are apparently being built in the desert. Why are warships being built in the middle of a desert? And these satellite images of the fake warships, could they be a foretaste of the Chinese government's potential plans of conquest? Joining me now to talk more about this and the upcoming meeting between the two presidents is Congressman Mike Waltz. He's a member of the Armed Services Committee, and he joins us now. Congressman, welcome back to Washington Watch.
Hey, good to be with you, Tony.
First, let me get your take on this pending meeting that's been reported that will take place next week between President Xi and President Biden.
Well, unfortunately, I don't expect a lot in terms of any real demands on Biden's standpoint, or even in a reaction to this incredible military buildup that we're seeing on the part of the Chinese Communist Party. And just to get right to the point, it's because I think so many elements of our society that Biden tends to care about the most are compromised and are awash with Chinese money. And that's from Hollywood to our sports ecosystems. And we've seen with the NBA, how they've kowtowed to the Chinese market. Certainly Wall Street, you have folks like Larry Fink at BlackRock, telling his investors to triple down. And then, we could probably spend another hour really scratching at where Hunter Biden's investments really lie. But we do know he is still an equity holder in a Chinese private equity company that's invested in blacklisted Chinese firms, one of which is blacklisted for trying to steal American nuclear technology. So for all of those reasons, plus on top of the fact that there just doesn't seem to be an interest at all in pressing the Chinese on the origins of COVID. It wasn't even raised in the last call that Biden had. I think there's just a real desire on his part to get back to normal, same old status quo. As he said during the campaign, come on, man. There's the Chinese aren't our adversaries. So unfortunately, I don't expect much from this meeting.
Well, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, Chairman General Mark Milley, who I would say is certainly in Biden's favor. He's certainly not been in the favor of conservatives. He recently said that there is every reason to be concerned with the military buildup of China. He pointed to the hypersonic missile test, the expanding nuclear arsenal, the strides in their space and cyber, and their threats toward Taiwan.
Right.
Is the president listening to him?
Well, he didn't listen to him when it came to the disaster in Afghanistan. What became clear from our hearings that we held in both the Senate and the House is that the military overwhelmingly and in writing, because I think they knew how controversial it was going to be, advised that he leave a residual force, advised that it's not a matter of if, but when terrorist groups can reconstitute and attack the West again, advised that we get a number of our civilians out and start the evacuation before we get all of our military out. All of that advice was ignored by Biden, coming from his military and his intelligence community. So I'm not very optimistic. I think, frankly, President Biden thinks when it comes to foreign policy, because he was chairman of the Senate Foreign Policy Committee, that he's the smartest in the room. We've seen his stubborn streak that he's not going to listen to the fact that of all the things you mentioned, the Chinese Navy is larger than the U.S. Navy now. They can concentrate all of their ships in one ocean. Ours are spread around the world. They're cranking out ships at a rate of 5 to 1. They're on track to build their 1,000th shipyard, Tony. The United States has 24 by comparison. And in this recent infrastructure package, not a dollar went into our shipyard industry to repair that unbalance. So the trend lines are bad. And the fact that so many people are making so much money over there and has compromised so much of our institutions are one of the reasons that me and so many others are so concerned.
Congressman Waltz, it sounds like you would agree with the statement of the outgoing vice chairman of the Joint Chiefs, John Hyten, who said that the pace that China is currently developing their military capabilities is stunning, and that they are on track to surpass the United States if we don't do something to change it.
That's right. In the meantime, you have Biden, at least in his initial budget, came over with a real dollar cut to our military with drastic domestic expenses. And this is something I want all of your listeners to really understand. The theory of Chinese victory isn't World War III, with ship on ship, tank on tank. The theory of their victory is to outcompete us, much like we did the Soviet Union, where we just can't keep up. And meanwhile, we go bankrupt. We just can't build as many ships or as many rockets or as many stealth fighters. And in between, what we do build, they're stealing the technology. That's why this adversary is just so dangerous. But right now, the left, the progressives, have got their foot on the gas, driving us in a Ferrari towards bankruptcy. And meanwhile, the Chinese are just watching us do it as they build up their military.
Congressman Waltz, what do you make of these targets that are in the shape and dimensions of U.S. Navy aircraft carriers that are in the desert there in Xinjiang province?
Well, what the Chinese are doing is they're building long-range missiles that can reach out and sink our aircraft carriers before they can get within range of the carrier's fighter jets within Taiwan. And that's what they're testing out in the desert, the accuracy of those missiles to be able to hit a moving ship as it's steaming towards Taiwan. Meanwhile, kind of geopolitically, we're hearing Xi tell his military to prepare for war, openly talking about reunification of Taiwan. That's going to happen either the easy way or the hard way, diplomatically or militarily. They know that at this point, at least our military doctrine is to intervene, and we'll do that with aircraft carriers. So that's what he's setting the stage for. And Tony, I think we're in a really dangerous window. The Chinese Olympics in Beijing's, what I'm calling the genocide Olympics, and I've called for a boycott, is right around the corner in February. Xi will get reelected chairman in June and July of next summer. And then you have a window between his reelection and Biden's reelection, where I think he smells weakness in the White House and sees an opportunity to take what he's always wanted, which is Taiwan. And once he has that, he controls the sea lanes into Japan, into South Korea, into Malaysia, and partially into Australia. The rest of the chips are going to start falling for China to take over as a dominant world power.
By the way, Congressman Waltz, I want to commend you. You were, I think, the first to call for the U.S. Not to engage in the Olympics there in China as a result of the mass atrocities that they're involved in with religious minorities and others there in China. So I thank you for that. No doubt on the Chinese president's list of items to talk about, I would imagine next week, will be the fact that the U.S., some of your colleagues, in fact, went to Taiwan, which the defense minister or a spokesman for the Ministry of Defense in China called a sneaky visit. What do you know about that visit?
Well, I applaud the visit, and I think we need to be doing a lot more of it. I think the way to deter China from taking this dangerous and massively destabilizing, essentially leading us to war, step in terms of trying to militarily invade Taiwan is to turn Taiwan into a porcupine. We are working with them right now to enhance their National Guard and their reserves and militias. I think we need to drastically increase the arms that we're selling to Taiwan. I think the best way to maintain the peace is to raise the cost. So that when Xi looks at the cost of this type of invasion or military intervention, that the cost is just too high, and that the United States is willing to preserve democracy, is willing to preserve freedom of the seas and the ocean and trade, and is willing to stand with our allies in Japan and South Korea and Australia. We need to make that clear. And one of the ways to do that is through visits and being present on the island of Taiwan.
Yeah, without question. Congressman Mike Waltz, always great to talk with you. And we'll be talking more to you as you keep your eye on China and the developments there. Thanks so much for being with us today.
All right. God bless, Tony. Anytime.